The chamber of the Galactic Council was vast, a cathedral of steel and light where the rulers of the galaxy gathered. But on this day, silence filled the hall. The Zorath Empire stood at the center. Their leader, a towering creature covered in armored scales, slammed his claws against the metal floor. The sound echoed like thunder. His voice cut through the chamber, harsh and merciless. "Humanity will kneel," he growled, "or humanity will be erased." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Representatives of dozens of alien species looked at one another but said nothing. Fear sealed their lips. They had seen the Zorath crush entire civilizations. They had seen planets burn under their fleets. None dared to challenge them. The Zorath commander sneered at the silence. "Pathetic. You fear them still? Humans? A dying race clinging to a blue rock? They are weak, scattered, nothing but survivors of a forgotten war." He raised his claw to the skies above. "We will strike Earth itself. Their fleets will fall. Their colonies will burn. When we are finished, humanity will not exist even in memory." Laughter followed, cruel and sharp. In one corner, an elder alien leaned toward his apprentice. His voice was low, shaking. "You do not understand. Humans may be quiet now, but they remember. They always remember." But his words were drowned by the Zoratha's roar of victory. Far away, on a small blue planet at the edge of the galaxy, the message was received. Inside a command center deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, the broadcast played across a wall of screens. Generals, scientists, and political leaders watched in grim silence. At the center sat Admiral Jonathan Rains. His face was calm, his uniform sharp, but his eyes burned with fire. He listened as the Zorath threatened Earth, mocked its people, and declared humanity finished. When the broadcast ended, the room fell into heavy silence. For a moment, no one spoke. Finally, Admiral Rains leaned forward. His voice was steady, cold as steel. "They challenged the wrong people." Within hours, Earth's hidden networks came alive. Civilian news channels reported the threat. Panic spread across the cities. Parents clutched their children. Students whispered in fear. On every screen, the face of the Zorath commander replayed, his laughter filling homes and streets. But in the shadows, far from public eyes, something else moved. Silent hangars deep beneath mountains opened. Hidden bases under the oceans stirred. Vast black warships, invisible to scanners, powered up after years of silence. Engines that had slept for generations roared awake. Humanity had been preparing. The galaxy thought Earth had been rebuilding slowly, fragile after its old wars. But humanity had learned from every battle, every loss, every scar. They had built fleets the galaxy had never seen. Fleets hidden not in open space, but buried within planets, cloaked in storms, and concealed in asteroid fields. Now, one by one, those fleets began to rise. Meanwhile, in distant alien systems, whispers spread. "Have you heard?" one trader asked in a shadowy spaceport. "The Zorath plan to destroy the humans." Another laughed nervously. "Humans? They are nothing. They have no empire, no allies." But an older voice cut in. "Do not be so quick to mock them. My grandfather fought in the Orion Wars. He told me humans fought like no other. They bled, yes, but they never surrendered. He said they are not conquerors. They are finishers." The younger aliens fell silent. On Earth, Admiral Rains stood in the war room. Holographic maps filled the air, showing Zorath fleets moving across the galaxy. Worlds burned in their path. "Sir," a young officer said, his voice tense, "they are on the move already. Colonies near Vega are falling." Rains's eyes narrowed. He pressed his hand against the console. "Then it begins." He turned to his commanders. His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of thunder. "They think we are fragile. They think we are weak. Let them. It will be their last mistake." One by one, the commanders saluted. Across the world, hidden human fleets received their orders. Engines ignited, cloaks shimmered, and ships slipped silently into the void. In the Galactic Council, the Zorath celebrated. Their commander drank from a golden chalice, his laughter echoing. By this time next cycle, He boasted, Earth will burn. Humanity will be ash. But the elder alien, the one who had whispered before, stared at him with haunted eyes. You do not know them, he said softly. Humans are dangerous when threatened. They fight with a fire no logic can explain. The Zorath commander waved him off. They are insects. The elder shook his head. No. They are storms. And storms never kneel. Back on Earth, as night fell, families gathered in silence. Children asked their parents if the monsters in the broadcast were real. Soldiers kissed loved ones goodbye, knowing they might never return. Above them, in orbit, the first of the hidden fleets broke free from the atmosphere. Massive ships shaped like spears drifted into the stars, their weapons locked and ready. The people of Earth watched the skies, unaware of the full strength that was awakening. Admiral Rains stood alone on a balcony, gazing into the night sky. He could see the stars shining faintly above the dark ocean. Somewhere out there, the Zorath were coming. He whispered to himself, a promise carried into the void. They will learn. Humanity does not kneel. The galaxy thought the humans would hide, that they would beg for mercy. But the galaxy did not know what moved in the shadows. Deep in the dark reaches of space, far beyond the glowing trade lanes, human fleets began to rise. Massive ships, black as night, slipped free from asteroids where they had been hidden for decades. They carried no markings, no signal codes, nothing that could be tracked. Their hulls absorbed light, turning them into ghosts among the stars. Everywhere, human forces came alive. From beneath the seas of Europa's icy moon, submarines surfaced and transformed into starships. From within Mars's canyons, vast carriers crawled out, their hulls glowing as they took flight. Even in forgotten systems long abandoned by alien powers, hidden human outposts opened, sending coded signals across the void. The Zorath thought humanity had no empire. But in truth, humanity's empire was made of shadows. It had been built in secret, piece by piece, while the galaxy looked away. Admiral Rains stood in the command chamber of the carrier Eternal Resolve. Around him, officers hurried, reading streams of data, plotting enemy movement. A young lieutenant pointed to a glowing red arc on the holographic map. Sir, Zorath fleets are advancing through the Vega corridor. They will reach Earth's outer colonies in less than 3 cycles. The room was tense. Some officers clenched their fists. Others muttered curses under their breath. But Rains's face remained calm, carved from stone. Let them come, he said. We will answer. His voice carried across the chamber. The crew felt a spark in their chests. Fear turned into fire. Far away, in a dim council chamber, alien leaders argued. One representative, a feathered being with nervous eyes, raised his voice. We must stop the Zorath. They cannot be allowed to destroy an entire species. Another, covered in crystal scales, shook his head. You forget. It is humanity. They brought war to the galaxy before. If they rise again, perhaps they will burn us all. Silence followed. Many remembered old stories, tales of human armies who fought until nothing was left, who turned battlefields into graves for both friend and foe. At last, the elder alien spoke. His voice was soft, but it froze the chamber. You fear the Zorath now. Soon, you will fear the humans more. Meanwhile, the Zorath fleets cut through the stars. Their ships were jagged, like claws tearing across the void. Billions of soldiers filled their holds, chanting for blood. On the bridge of the Zorath flagship, the warlord laughed. Earth is weak. Their fleets are scattered. We will crush them before they can breathe. But one of his lieutenants frowned. He stared at the empty regions of the map. Lord, there are shadows here. Sectors that do not answer our scans. Sectors where no data comes through. The warlord snarled. Irrelevant. Empty space cannot fight. The lieutenant said no more. But in his heart, unease grew. Out in the black, the first encounter came. A Zorath scout fleet entered a quiet system near the Vega corridor. Their ships glided through silence, scanning for signs of human colonies. They found only dust, rock, and empty planets. Pathetic, their captain spat. This is the strength of Earth. Ghost worlds. But then, His sensors lit up. From the dark side of a barren moon, shapes emerged. At first, they looked like shadows. Then engines flared, silent and sharp. Human ships. Dozens of them. Before the Zorath could react, beams of light cut across space. The first Zorath cruiser exploded, torn apart in a flash of fire. Missiles streaked through the void, slamming into enemy hulls. The captain screamed for shields, for counterattack, but it was too late. The humans struck with precision, then vanished back into the black. When the wreckage drifted silently, only whispers remained. Ghost fleet, humans. The news spread quickly. Across Zorath channels, reports came of human ships striking like assassins, then disappearing without trace. Fleets destroyed, outposts burning, commanders vanishing. The warlord roared in fury. Cowards! They hide in the dark. They are nothing. But doubt spread among his warriors. If humanity was weak, then why did their fleets bleed so easily? Back on Earth, the people watched news broadcasts in awe. The government kept much of the truth hidden, but rumors spread faster than silence. They fought back, someone whispered in a crowded market. The humans destroyed a Zorath fleet. Impossible, another said. But even as they spoke, more reports came in. More victories. More whispers. Hope flickered across the planet. Parents looked at their children with new strength. Soldiers gripped their rifles tighter, standing taller. Admiral Rains watched the reports from his command deck. His eyes were cold, his face still, but inside he felt the fire of his people rising. They think we are shadows, he said softly. Let them fear the dark. In the Council of Alien Races, panic grew. Messages poured in, Zorath fleets vanishing, human warships rising from nowhere. One alien slammed his fist on the table. They were supposed to be weak. Another whispered, trembling, no. They were waiting. The elder alien closed his eyes. His voice was almost a whisper, yet everyone heard it. The storm has awakened. In the endless void, human fleets moved like predators. Silent. Unseen. Unstoppable. The galaxy had mocked them. The Zorath had threatened them. But humanity had answered in the only way they knew. With fire. And the war was only beginning. The galaxy thought humans would fight small battles, hiding like insects. But humanity was not hiding. They were preparing. And now, the storm would strike its first world. The planet Rethys 4 was a jewel of the Zorath Empire. Its skies glowed green, its oceans rich with silver algae, its cities filled with towers that scraped the clouds. Billions of Zorath lived there, proud of their empire, confident that no enemy could touch them. But far above the planet, in the endless void, the humans waited. Admiral Rains stood on the bridge of the Eternal Resolve, his hands clasped behind his back. Around him, the fleet was silent, dozens of carriers, destroyers, and ghost frigates holding position in the shadow of Rethys's distant moon. A young officer turned to him. Sir, target data is locked. Their orbital defenses are strong, but their fleets are scattered. We can strike now. Rains's voice was calm, but cold. No. We wait until the civilians are safe. The officer frowned. Sir. Rains looked out at the stars. We are not the Zorath. We do not burn children to prove strength. Evacuation paths must remain open. Already, human operatives had infiltrated Rethys's communication grid. Messages were flooding civilian channels, warnings, coded instructions, escape routes hidden inside false Zorath broadcasts. Some civilians ignored them. Others listened. But the Zorath leaders laughed. They thought the warnings were tricks. The humans are too weak to strike here, they boasted. Our empire is untouchable. They were wrong. When the signal came, the void erupted in fire. Human warships broke silence, engines blazing as they surged toward orbit. Beams of light stabbed across the darkness, smashing through Zorath defense satellites. Missiles rained down like meteors, tearing apart the first planetary shields. The Zorath fleet scrambled. Dozens of ships launched from the surface, their hulls jagged, their weapons glowing red. They fired wildly, filling the void with chaos. But the humans were not reckless. They were precise. Frigates slipped between enemy lines, targeting command ships first. Carriers released swarms of drones that overloaded Zorath systems. Destroyers fired rail cannons that split enemy cruisers apart with a single strike. It was not a battle. It was a storm. On the surface of Rethys 4, the people screamed. Explosions lit the skies as fire streaked across the atmosphere. Towers crumbled. Oceans boiled where debris fell. Zorath soldiers shouted for order, dragging civilians into bunkers, but the bunkers collapsed as orbital strikes hammered their defenses. Panic spread like fire. And then, from the shadows of the cities, humans appeared. Not soldiers, but agents, operatives who had lived in disguise for years. They guided civilians toward safe zones, handing out strange beacons that glowed blue. One Zorath child clutched a beacon in her claws as her mother pulled her through the smoke. Above them, a human voice spoke from hidden speakers. "Follow the light. This way. Quickly." For the first time, the Zorath civilians saw something they had never imagined: humans protecting them, even as war raged overhead. In orbit, the Zorath fleet broke. Their warlord commander screamed for reinforcements, but none came. His ships fell one by one, crushed beneath human fire. On the Eternal Resolve, Admiral Rains gave his final order. Disable the planetary command grid. Do not destroy the civilians. Target only the Empire's power. A wave of missiles struck the surface. The central fortress of Rethys 4, a massive black tower that held the Empire's command hub, erupted in fire. Shockwaves tore through the city. The Zorath leaders died in an instant. The Empire's grip on Rethys shattered. And then, the humans did something no one expected. They stopped. The fleet pulled back. Instead of burning the world to ash, they left it alive. Billions of Zorath civilians stood among the ruins, stunned. Their empire had always told them humans were monsters, brutal, merciless, destroyers of all life. But the humans had struck, broken their rulers, and then left them breathing. News spread faster than fire. Across the galaxy, transmissions carried images of the battle. Alien worlds watched the fall of Rethys 4 in horror and in awe. One alien counselor whispered as he saw the images. They did not just defeat the Zorath. They humiliated them. Another leaned closer. No. They are sending a message. The elder alien spoke, his voice low. The humans are saying, "We will fight the Empire, but we are not the Empire. That makes them more dangerous than you know." In the Zorath throne world, the warlord's fury was beyond measure. He roared, shattering the iron walls of his chamber with his claws. "Bring me their heads," he screamed. "I will burn Earth until nothing remains. I will turn their oceans to glass and their cities to dust." But his advisors were silent. They had seen the reports. They knew the humans were not fighting blindly. They were fighting with strategy, with precision, with purpose. For the first time, whispers of fear spread among the Zorath High Command. Back aboard the Eternal Resolve, Admiral Rains stood alone at the viewport, watching the stars. His crew celebrated quietly behind him another victory, another step forward, but his eyes were cold. He knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The Zorath Empire would strike back with all its fury. The galaxy would turn against humanity, afraid of what it was seeing. But still, he whispered to himself, almost like a vow. "We do not fight to conquer. We fight so no one can ever chain us again." And in the shadows of the void, more human fleets moved. The storm was spreading. The fall of Rethys 4 shook the galaxy. For centuries, the Zorath Empire had ruled with iron claws. Worlds bent their knees, fleets surrendered without firing a shot. The Zorath were feared, obeyed, and never challenged. But now, a single human fleet had broken their pride. The images were everywhere: Zorath warships torn apart, their fortress burning, and humans pulling back before they turned the planet to ash. The galaxy had seen something no one expected: mercy from the most feared race of the past. And that terrified the Council more than the battle itself. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with noise. Alien voices shouted over one another, claws slammed tables, wings snapped open in panic. They destroyed a core world of the Empire, a scaled Tazari delegate cried, his eyes glowing in fear. If they can do that to the Zorath, what can they do to us? They spared the civilians, hissed a crystalline being whose body shimmered with light. That is the danger. The galaxy will see them as liberators, not conquerors. The Speaker of the Council, a towering four-armed Volan, slammed his staff on the floor. Order. We will have order. Slowly, the chamber fell quiet. The Speaker's voice was grim. The humans have returned to the stage. They are not hiding in their broken world. They are building fleets, moving in silence. This cannot be ignored. A thin, bird-like counselor from the Erith Dominion leaned forward. His feathers trembled. Perhaps we should negotiate. Open channels. If they wish to strike only the Empire, perhaps we negotiate, another counselor snapped. With them. Do you not remember what they did during the old wars? They turned moons into weapons. They bled the galaxy dry. They cannot be trusted. The chamber erupted again. Fear, anger, suspicion all boiling over. Far from the shouting, in a shadowed corner of the chamber, an older being sat in silence. Elder Karath of the Shun had lived through the last human war. His body was weak now, his eyes dim, but his memory was sharp. He remembered the stories not written in the archives. When the younger counselors paused, he finally spoke. His voice was rough, but it carried across the chamber. Young fools. You are afraid because you do not understand. The humans fight differently. They are not like the Zorath. The Empire conquers for power. The humans fight because they refuse to kneel. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some dismissed him as senile. Others leaned forward, listening. Elder Karath continued. When I was young, I watched them fight 3 empires at once. They should have died. But they did not. Do you know why? Because they fight as if every battle is their last. And when the dust clears, they rise again. His words sent a chill through the chamber. The debate turned to strategy. Some demanded a united fleet to crush Earth before it grew stronger. Others warned that such an attack would push the humans into open war with the entire galaxy. One delegate whispered the unthinkable. What if we ally with them? If humans can wound the Zorath, perhaps they are the key to breaking the Empire forever. The suggestion spread like fire. Some species hated the Zorath enough to consider it. Others recoiled in horror. To ally with humans was to invite chaos, destruction, and betrayal. The council could not agree. And in their division, fear grew. Meanwhile, in the throne world of the Zorath, the warlord raged. His claws carved deep scars into the black stone of his chamber. His will be avenged, he roared. I will drag their admiral's corpse through the stars. But his advisors, for the first time, hesitated. One dared to speak. My lord, it was not just their weapons. It was their method. They could have burned his. Instead, they left the civilians alive. The galaxy is watching. They are turning our own people against us. The warlord struck him down in fury. But the words lingered. Even in the heart of the Empire, whispers spread. What if the humans were not monsters? What if the Empire had lied? Back on Earth, Admiral Rains listened to the intercepted broadcasts. Reports of council debates. Images of fear spreading. Rumors of alliances shifting. He stood in the war room, surrounded by holographic maps of the stars. Fleets were marked in red and blue, lines of control shifting like storm clouds. One officer asked, Sir, do we strike again? The Empire will regroup soon. Rains shook his head. Not yet. Let the galaxy argue. Every moment they fight among themselves is a moment we gain strength. He turned to his staff, his eyes sharp. Prepare the next phase. But remember, our war is not just with their fleets. It is with their lies. We break the Empire not only with fire, but with truth. And so, the storm spread without another shot fired. The Zorath raged. The council feared. And across the stars, whispers grew louder. Whispers of a forgotten race. Whispers of humans who did not kneel. Whispers of war that would not end until the galaxy itself was remade. The night sky over Earth lit up with fire. For weeks, Admiral Rains had expected it. The Zorath Empire would not allow their pride to bleed without striking back. Humanity's victory at Rethys 4 was a wound too deep, too public. Revenge was certain. And when it came like thunder. Zorath fleets emerged from hidden jump lanes, dozens of warships appearing above Earth's orbit. Their black hulls reflected no light, their weapons already glowing. Civilians below looked up in terror as streaks of fire rained through the clouds. The first wave struck orbital defenses. Human satellites exploded in showers of sparks. Outposts along the moon were shredded in minutes. The Zorath moved with fury, their warlord determined to break Earth before the humans could rise again. In the command bunker beneath Washington, alarms screamed. Orbital shield failing, an officer shouted. Casualties mounting on lunar base. We can't hold this line much longer. Admiral Rains stood calm, his eyes fixed on the battle map. Red markers swarmed across the screen, pushing deep into Earth's defenses. The room trembled as another blast shook the planet. Dust rained from the ceiling. Civilians in cities across Earth panicked, running into shelters, hiding underground as shockwaves rippled across continents. Still, Rains did not flinch. "Deploy the Black Fleet," he ordered. The room went silent. Every officer stared at him. The Black Fleet was more than a secret, it was a legend. Ships built in hidden shipyards, forged in silence while the galaxy thought humans weak. Each vessel carried weapons humanity had sworn never to use again. "Sir," one officer whispered. "If we reveal them now, the galaxy will know. They will all fear us again." Rains' jaw tightened. "Better they fear us than bury us. Launch them." Moments later, deep beneath the oceans, hidden hangars opened. From beneath the waves, massive human warships rose, water cascading from their armored hulls. Engines roared to life, shaking the seas. The sky filled with fire as the Black Fleet ascended, black steel cutting through the storm, their weapons glowing with ancient fury. Above Earth, the Zorath warlord sneered at the sudden response. "So the cattle had teeth after all," he growled. "Crush them." His fleets turned to meet the rising humans. The battle began. Space lit up with chaos. Human railguns thundered, spears of molten metal tearing through Zorath shields. Missiles streaked in packs, splitting apart and hunting their targets like wolves. The Zorath struck back with plasma storms, their beams cutting through smaller ships, ripping human frigates into pieces. Explosions turned the orbit of Earth into a burning graveyard. Yet the Black Fleet did not break. Flagship Resolute charged straight into the center of the enemy formation, its cannons firing in a constant rhythm, tearing holes in the Zorath wall. Smaller human ships darted between giants, striking, vanishing, striking again. It was chaos, but it was the kind of chaos humans thrived in. On the ground, civilians watched the battle above like a storm of fire in the heavens. Cities shook, oceans boiled from falling wreckage, but for the first time in centuries, humans looked to the sky not with fear but with defiance. Children in bunkers whispered, "We're fighting back." Old veterans clenched their fists. The world was bleeding, but it was no longer broken. In the council chamber far across the stars, alien delegates stared at the live feeds in horror. The Erith Dominion's feathered envoy whispered, "They should be dead already. No one survives a Zorath retaliation." The crystalline delegate shivered, their body flashing with nervous light. Yet they are still standing. Some counselors trembled with fear. Others began to wonder something even more dangerous. If humans could resist the Empire, perhaps they were not just survivors. Perhaps they were the galaxy's only chance of freedom. But in orbit, survival hung by a thread. The Black Fleet fought fiercely, yet for every Zorath ship destroyed, 2 more arrived. Reinforcements poured through jump lanes. Earth's skies turned darker with each passing hour. Inside the Resolute, Admiral Rains stood at the command bridge, the glow of battles filling the viewport. His crew waited for his next order. "We can't hold forever," one officer warned. "Our losses are critical," another said. Rains looked calm, but inside, he felt the weight of his people on his shoulders. Earth could not fall. Not again. He activated the command codes. "Prepare the hammer." The crew went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, hidden even from most of Earth's military, an ancient weapon began to stir. The orbital hammer, a relic of humanity's last great war. A weapon so powerful it had been buried, locked, and sworn never to be used again. Now, its systems lit up for the first time in centuries. As its energy built, Admiral Rains spoke quietly, almost to himself. They wanted us on our knees. Instead, they will see us rise. And in the skies above Earth, the battle raged on. The Zorath warlords' laughter echoed across comms. Human fleets bled, but fought harder with every loss. The orbital hammer's power climbed, second by second. The galaxy watched. The Council trembled. And Earth stood on the edge of either salvation or annihilation. Pushpin word count, ~915. The war above Earth had become a storm of fire. Zorath ships swarmed the skies like a black tide. Their cannons ripped through human lines, tearing frigates apart, shattering cruisers, leaving burning debris tumbling into the oceans below. The Black Fleet fought bravely, but numbers alone began to crush them. For every enemy destroyed, more emerged from jump lanes, their hulks blotting out the stars. In the flagship Resolute, alarms screamed. Shields failing. Deck 7 breach. Casualties mounting across all fleets. Still, Admiral Rains stood tall, his hands gripping the rail as the battle map flickered red. Earth was seconds from falling. And then, the orbital hammer awakened. Far beneath the Atlantic Ocean, the ocean floor trembled. Massive armored doors groaned open, releasing bubbles that rose like ghosts. From the abyss, the hammer rose. A colossal weapon, longer than cities, hidden in secret for centuries. Its black hull gleamed with lines of light as ancient reactors roared to life. Power surged through its core, the kind of power the galaxy thought humans had sworn never to use again. In silence, the hammer took aim. The Zorath warlord on his flagship sneered when he saw it. A relic, he growled. Their desperation shows. Destroy it before it fires. But even as he barked the order, the hammer's energy spiked. The sea boiled around it as its main barrel opened, glowing brighter than a star. On Earth, people huddled in bunkers felt the ground shake. In cities, lights flickered. Children covered their ears as the air itself seemed to hum. And in orbit, every human captain heard Admiral Rains' calm voice. Stand firm. The hammer is ours. Then it fired. A beam of pure energy tore upward, thick as a mountain, brighter than the sun. It punched through the sky, cutting into the void of space, and struck the heart of the Zorath fleet. One moment their armada filled the heavens. The next, half of it was gone. Ships evaporated in fire, their hulls melting like wax before the storm. Entire cruisers shattered in seconds, their pieces burning as they fell into the ocean. The Zorath warlord's flagship split apart in silence, its last message nothing but static. The hammer's roar shook the planet. Oceans surged. Skies lit with fire. Even the stars seemed to tremble. When the light faded, silence followed. Where once hundreds of Zorath warships had stood, now only wreckage remained. The survivors limped away, retreating in chaos, their formations broken. The mighty Zorath Empire, undefeated for centuries, had been crushed in a single strike. On the Resolute, the crew stared at their screens in awe. My God, one whispered. They're running. They're actually running. Admiral Rains allowed himself a single breath of relief. Then, in his steady voice, he gave the final order. Pursue them. Make sure they never return to our skies. On Earth, the news spread like fire. Civilians poured from shelters, staring at the heavens now filled with burning wreckage. Cheers erupted in cities, across continents, even in the ruins still smoking from the assault. For the first time in living memory, humanity had not only survived an invasion, they had broken the invaders. Old veterans cried. Children shouted. Families embraced under falling ash, whispering the same words over and over. We are still here. Far across the stars, in the Galactic Council chamber, silence reigned. Delegates stared at the live feed in shock, their alien eyes wide with disbelief. The Zorath Empire, bullies of the galaxy, feared by all, had been defeated. The crystalline envoy flickered nervously. If the humans could do this to the Zorath, the Erith Dominion's feathers ruffled, then they can do it to anyone. Some shivered with fear. Others felt something else stirring, hope. For the first time, perhaps the galaxy had someone strong enough to challenge tyrants. In the shadows of the chamber, whispers spread. Should we fear the humans? Or should we follow them? Back on Earth, Admiral Raines stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring at the wreckage drifting through orbit. His world was scarred, his people blooded, but alive. He knew what the victory meant. Humanity was no longer a forgotten species, no longer dismissed as survivors of a backwater world. They had revealed their strength, their secret, their fire, and the galaxy would never see them the same again. That night, as Earth burned and healed at the same time, messages spread across the stars. Some called humans dangerous. Others called them saviors. But every world whispered the same truth. The humans had risen. And the galaxy would never forget it.